Okay, that seems to be underway. Okay, great. And yeah, so what we'd love to sort of begin with really is if you could introduce yourself and who you are and what you do at the Human Rights Campaign, and then go straight into what you talked about at the summit, everything around that topic really, why it was important to talk about it, and what's going to be happening in the future for the Human Rights Campaign. So if you want to dive into that, Anastasia, that'd be brilliant.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Anastasia Khoo. I'm the Director of Marketing at the Human Rights Campaign, which is America's largest organization dedicated to lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender equality. I've been with HRC, as we call it, for 8 years now as the marketing director. And this past year kind of hit the jackpot in a big way when HRC turned the internet red and created Facebook's most viral campaign ever. So some of you may know that earlier this year, our Supreme Court heard two very important cases about marriage equality. The first was a challenge to California's Proposition 8, which essentially banned gay and lesbian couples from being married in California. And the second was a challenge to a federal law called the Defense of Marriage Act, which barred legally same-sex married couples from receiving the same federal rights and benefits that heterosexual couples receive, such as Social Security benefits, pension benefits, health care, taxes, jointly filing on your taxes. So a whole host of more than 1,000 rights and benefits that same-sex couples were not allowed to use or apply for. And so it was a monumental experience that the Supreme Court was going to hear these two cases. Never before had they heard cases on this magnitude. And let me just grab the light, sorry.
Absolutely.
There we go. So never before had the Supreme Court heard two cases on this magnitude. And, for us in the United States, we've come a long way in terms of marriage equality. In November, we had an incredible election where President Barack Obama was reelected, and he's done so much for the LGBT community. We saw our first openly gay senator, Tammy Baldwin, elected to the Senate, which was a historic moment. And we also saw, for the first time, voters went to the ballot box and affirmed the right for gay and lesbian couples to be married. And this had never happened before. And often our opposition said, or had said, that all of our victories were won in the legislatures or via courts, and the voters really didn't support it. But actually, November showed that Americans are largely supporting marriage equality. And we saw that both in terms of the affirmation at the ballot box, but also in terms of polling and public support, which has been documented. So we went into the Supreme Court cases with a lot of momentum behind us, but our job at HRC is to really build on that momentum, and we wanted to continue the public dialogue around marriage. And so we had both a communications war room, which was focused on raising and elevating the conversation in the media. We were also actively planning events outside the Supreme Court and across the country, which would demonstrate solidarity and support for the issue. But we knew that we needed to have a really strong digital communications strategy. And so every day for weeks leading up to the Supreme Court events, we were beating the drum about the cases. So at 10 o'clock, at 1 o'clock, at 3 o'clock, at 5 o'clock, we did image shares. We were constantly posting information and stories and background to really, we did a countdown to really sort of drive attention and to position our organization as the go-to resource around these cases. So we had really primed our audience well. And I had an idea to take our iconic logo, which is the blue box with the yellow equal signs, and to turn it red, which is the color of love. And for us, what these cases really symbolize. And so we changed our logo, which is, sort of a you don't do that in terms of branding, but we decided to give it a try and posted it on Facebook on the Monday before the cases were to be heard. They were starting on Tuesday, and asked our supporters to do the same. We had reached out to some of our high-profile celebrities like George Takei and asked them if they would support the campaign, and George and so many others did, and that really helped fuel the fire, so to speak. So on Monday we posted it, and on Tuesday, we saw what so many people had seen was that their feed had literally turned red with the logos. It was really an incredible experience. And Facebook actually helped us with some data which said that, one, unequivocally, it was their most viral campaign, but they saw a 120% increase on Tuesday alone of people changing their profile picture to the red logo, which is something they've never seen before, but it just sort of speaks to, that's just one day, a snapshot of one day of a campaign in a week, but how powerful this campaign really was.
Fantastic. And how important was it as part of the digital strategy to have an established, community of online supporters ready and primed to share the message when you change the colours on your brand logo?
Well, so important. I mean, we're really fortunate that we have a very committed group of supporters and activists online, but that didn't happen overnight. I think it's an important thing for organizations to constantly be communicating with people where they are. And increasingly, not just us, but all organizations are finding that that's where people are. They're online. I was on a panel with Facebook, and they said that people essentially had their phones on 23 hours out of the day, meaning that they were constantly looking for news. That's where they are. They're online, and so it's so vital that one, not only you communicate with that audience consistently, and it's not just an afterthought, but it's really part of your core communication strategy, and two, that you're able to grow and cultivate that audience. We knew that we're very fortunate again to have such a committed group, and we knew that likely they would change their profile picture. We had no idea that so many other people, millions of people around the world, would do the same. And now it's our job as activists at HRC, to help continue to communicate with those new individuals and to bring them into the fold of what our organization does.
Fantastic. And was there a recognizable tipping point when people began to change their profile icons, or was there just a sort of a powerful surge of a mass of already established supporters that were doing it that sort of fed through to the rest of the Facebook community?
It's sort of hard to tell because I'll just share a story. On Monday night, after we had posted the logo, I had gone to bed and everything seemed fine. And on Tuesday, I was up very early for a press event. And when I woke up, I checked my phone, as everyone does these days, and saw that our website had crashed overnight.
Wow.
And we saw 700,000 visitors just overnight. Wow. To our site, which completely crashed. We weren't able to handle that amount of traffic. And so that's really when it started. And initially, when we were looking at our feed, we thought, well, maybe it was just, in sort of our own circles of knowing people. But when we started to get calls from the media and started to look around and really take the time to see where it was happening, we just saw that it was all over.
Wow, that's fantastic, Anastasia. Thank you very much for giving us an insight into HRC's activities, and thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
Brilliant. Anastasia, I'll just stop the recording there. That's absolutely brilliant. It's so interesting.